Mm, the recording is in progress. Trivia is optimized. Okay. Um, so I guess we just jump on into this one. I thanks for coming an hour early. We are I'm double heading today, so
Yeah.
double header. If anyone's curious, this is followed by Far Cry.
Ooh, I played the video games, but I've never watched the movie.
Okay, I'm so out of it. I came in thinking it was going to be a movie of No Man's Sky. So it was kind of, I guess it was kind of sci-fi, but less so than I expected, you know? But
It's
yeah,
not what's that dude's name that makes those video game movies? Uwe
Uwe
Boll.
Boll.
Is it his movie?
It's a bowl.
It is. Okay.
We didn't hate, what was it? In the Name of the King, a Dungeon's Siege tale, and just, I guess, spoilers for the podcast I do after this. Far Cry. The main issues is the lead actor sucks. He like barely can speak English. And then the first half of the movie has so many action scenes at night, and they do not know how to shoot at night. So it's basically just watching an inky black mess for like 20 minutes. Once they get into the daylight, it's like slightly better. Oh, and it has a super cringy, weird sex scene or an implied sex scene. So that wasn't cool. But yeah, it only came out after the first game, so it has nothing to do with anything except the first game. So.
And I only
Um,
started playing on the second game. So yeah, I wouldn't know
Right.
what was going on then.
So you wouldn't know the
I
protagonist of
played the
that.
second all the way up to the sixth. I think they're up to the sixth one now.
Yeah, what's the character's name? Jack Carver. Apparently he's the main character of the first one, but he didn't take like nobody cared, but he's the character in the movie because it was just based on the first game. So
Sounds like
maybe
it could be a show on a streaming service. Agent Jack Carter.
right. Well, it's like Jack Reacher, right? It's just like one tick off from that. Um okay, give a quick pause and I guess I'll start the show because we do need to I don't think we're going to go on for more than 50 minutes about this, but hey, you never know. So
Yep.
welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we look at all those lovely episodes of The Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here, coming back as Sean. How's it going, Sean?
Yeah. Just talking to Agnes, she was giving me some love advice.
Okay, do you have like a paper print computer screen like Agnes?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Yeah,
And it was
that's what.
showing me the big blocky letters and everything.
Yes, yes. I'm doing my late night radio voice, of course, because this is from Agnes with Love, the Valentine's Day episode of The Twilight Zone. So everyone now knows the first part of my trivia. Um, so Sean, you chose this one. You chose a comedy episode, which is not common around here. So yeah, why from Agnes with Love? Is this one you'd seen before, or just felt like was going to be interesting, or what?
Well, I was also on for Cavender's Coming, and that was a comedy episode. I feel
Oh
like I've been
yeah.
on for one other comedy episode.
Okay,
I
you asked for
am
comedy
not,
episodes.
I am no, I don't mind like I could see if you're like diehard Twilight Zone fan back in the 60s and then it gets changed up on you one week and you're like, what is this comedy mess? Like, what are they trying to do here? For me, these comedy episodes are taken as just like it's a relaxing 22 to 25 minutes. Just and as long as we don't do some crazy double alien stuff like we did in Mr. Dingle the Strong, then we're all
Mm.
good.
Yeah, I actually I didn't necessarily dislike this one. It is a comedy episode that didn't drive me. There's some issues, let's put it that way. But it did shoot up a red flag 20 seconds in when it starts going bloop bloop bloop. You know that's always a bad
Oh
sign for
yes,
me.
the a lot of bloop bloops and the
Now the computer bloop bloops are fine because they seem to be
did
slightly
you catch
musical. I
did
actually
you
wondered if
catch the
they.
stock music at the beginning? The do 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 do
Oh,
do
are you
do
doing
do.
Hitchcock there?
It almost sounded like Hitchcock. It
Yeah,
almost
there
did.
was something to the computer bleep blooping that was slightly musical too, and was like almost a kid song. Now I can't remember which one it was, but
Yeah,
I did wonder if that was actually like composed, by
yeah.
this week's composer because we do have. I mean, actually, it's not stock this week. We do have a written score for this one, which I'll do in trivia. I guess now, since I keep alluding to my trivia
Let's
without
do
saying it.
trivia now.
Yeah. Original air date was Valentine's Day, 1964. Ooh la la. Script is by Bernard C. Schoenfeld. He may be best known for this episode, but his trade was in film noirs such as Phantom Lady and Caged. Richard Donner directed. He was already here for Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, and he will later be somewhere else for Superman and the Goonies, which are among his better known films. Music is by Van Cleve. He's hung out in the Twilight Zone a bit, but this is his last episode. I hate to be a negative Nelly, but I think he's my least favorite composer in the Twilight Zone, probably because of that Captain Wacky music that shows up in the comedy episodes. Wally Cox played James Elwood. He had an early TV hit with the 50s sitcom Mr. Peepers. His love life worked better there than here, with his marriage to the school nurse being an early broadcast sensation and being on the cover of that week's TV Guide. He was also the voice of cartoon Underdog in the 60s. Interestingly, Cox was so tight with Marlon Brando that Brando kept Wally's ashes for an inordinate period of time after the latter's death. Millie was Sue Randall. She was a television reg in the 50s and 60s, particularly for her role as the Beaver's teacher on Leave It to Beaver. Elwood's supervisor was played by Raymond Bailey. He snagged credits on TV, film, and Broadway, but most people remember him as that awful Mr. Drysdale on the Beverly Hillbillies. I guess. That's a show I've seen a lot of, but probably never actually watched, like definitely like on in the background.
I've
I
seen the movie more times than the actual show, and I'm sure
I
you've
I,
seen the movie too.
I have not seen the movie. Who stars?
Oh,
Is that Ernest in the movie? That sounds
yes, he played Clamp, yeah, Jet Clamp. And then you had Rob Schneider's film debut.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Okay. Anyway, if I want hillbilly madness, I guess I'd go OG at this point.
Yeah, and I think I've seen more Green Acres than I have of Beverly Hillbillies too, and Pennycoat Junction, and
Yeah,
yeah,
those two are related, and I didn't. That's the thing. I was just telling someone a day or two ago. You don't really get into like hillbilly insanity these days until like you start reaching like your 30s or 40s, because to a kid like in the 50s you had all the cowboy stuff. So I guess Twilight Zone has a bunch of like hillbilly nonsense episodes, but yeah, I only started really liking the Country Bears in the past few years. You know what I'm saying?
dude, you were on about that movie. Wasn't that your birthday pick one
It
year?
was it was my birthday pick last year. Yes.
You liked that movie. When I had Disney Plus, I needed to watch that, but I never did. I mean,
I don't
Christopher
like
Walken in a bear movie, dude. Why did I not watch that?
The weird thing is I don't like the music. Like they could have just done like the Country Bear music in there, but they had to try and do like modern pop songs and modern country for the music, and that wasn't great. But everything
Yeah,
else in that movie is like I love it. Yeah. Ralph Tagar was Walter Holmes. He was a one-season Western wonder, starring in single seasons of Klondike, Acapulco, and Hondo. All of those lasting one season, of course. One season Western wonder. Huh, I almost wrote something there for myself to trip over, but I guess I made it. So that's trivia. Sean, if you go ahead and give us Rod's opening narration.
all right, let me just click on my tabby here. All right. I think I got a little bit of an easier one this week, so hopefully I don't fumble over my words here. I'm not going to do no dry teeth, Rod. I'm not Andrew. I can't do it that good. And I'm not going to go, I can't do the impressions like Luke, so just
Okay.
normal here. All right,
Or you
here we go.
could run it through some insane filter like Mark does.
Oh, but I don't know how to do that, and I don't want to hurt your ears. All right, here we go. James Elwood, master programmer in charge of Mark 502741, commonly known as Agnes, the world's most advanced electronic computer. Machines are made by men for man's benefit and progress. Progress. But when man ceases to control the products of his ingenuity and imagination, he not only risks losing the benefit, but he takes a long and unpredictable step into the twilight zone.
All right.
I kind of got confused there at the end because I think it's ingenuity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you actually said it slightly differently, but we can
yeah,
work it out. It's like as living in Japan, being an English teacher, blah blah. We teach American pronunciation, but at the same time, since I don't live in the States and can get away with it, I tend to soften a lot of my vowel sounds. So, I think progress is the correct way to say it, but progress feels nicer. I don't like
Yeah.
those nasally vowel sounds. So in my personal speech, I tend to avoid them, but yeah, that's the worst part of an American accent, I think. Maybe. Um, this does seem to be like one of the most anachronistic episodes of the Twilight Zone, I guess, with, the computer that takes up a room and probably does less than your phone. He's talking to a horny chat GPT kind of here, right?
Now, I've never seen that movie, Her. I'm assuming you have. You seem like a guy that's
I
seen a lot of movies.
well, don't assume, but yes, I actually have seen that.
Does that have, can you base that off? I haven't seen it. Can you base it off of anything like that? Like where the computer and the love advice and or is that like a whole different?
That's a different thing because like I think he starts falling in love with the AI, and then the AI starts consulting with the AI version of Alan Watts, the Buddhist philosopher from the 50s and 60s, and then decides to transcend and leave Joaquin Phoenix behind as it goes into the next level of existence or something along those lines. It's a lot headier than From Agnes with Love. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this is, like an early version of trying to not even realistic. I mean, we can't call this realistic. I don't think NASA's computers looked anything. No, well, they certainly didn't have that screen. That's got to be for sure. I don't, they just tell you like these computers like took up a room, and you saw a picture of ENIAC, but that's vacuum tubes still. I think we're up to transistors by now, right? So instead of a building, it takes up a room. Not a computer history expert here, so
That reminds me like the kind of computer you see at the you're gonna get to that episode later on this season, but the brain center at Whipple's or Whipple's. I always
Ripple,
want to
yeah.
say I can never say yeah, Whipple. I always yeah. But you get to that and or like what you saw earlier this season, the old man in the cave. It kind of reminds me of one of those computers, except this one has the words projecting out.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because season one wouldn't really have computers. I mean, people have like consoles they do stuff on, but like I don't before season five have we had a whole lot of actual like computers? I mean, this seems to be, I guess, when it's really breaking into the everyone's headspace, culturally or whatever, about
Yeah, I was gonna say,
1964.
wasn't the rush into space like in the mid 60s, early to mid 60s?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to watch this without thinking, wow, the phone in my pocket is probably like 10,000 times more powerful than this? And I could get AI to give me like 10 times worse advice pretty easily as well, now. Tell me to go eat rocks or something, right?
Yeah. You know, I know these episodes pretty well, but I still like to do some research or try to look for facts that I don't know. I guess in this episode, at the beginning, when Elwood used the term he was going to help debug Agnes. I guess that was one of the earliest uses of debug in American drama television.
I did see that listed. I think that was on the wiki. It also listed that like naval computers or something. Like they were using the terms in the 40s, but yeah, this is about the time it starts to take hold. Although the term had been used since at least 1945, it's an early use on U.S. network television. I don't know why I said naval computers. I guess I just assume they have those for
Well, they just
trajectories and
said
stuff.
they specifically said American drama television.
Right, right, right. Well, I guess German television's not going to
Or
debug
maybe it
things.
was done on American crime television before. I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt it. Um, but yes, this is sort of the entrance. I did notice Rod's narration well, I said the episode itself seems a little more anachronistic because we're dealing with this big derpy computer. Uh, yeah, the part when man ceases to control the products of his ingenuity and imagination, he not only risks losing the benefit, and then steps in a twilight zone, blah blah. I was just looking at it was an article on CNN a few days ago, and this is something I think everyone thinks. And since it's on CNN, I guess I don't have to censor the word, which was listed as "enshittening," which was like, how tech, like the people that built the stuff retire, the tech, like the companies like Facebook, when Facebook started, this was the example. It really was like you will just see friends and families. They say they're not collecting your data, although that was probably wrong from the start. But the whole point is early Facebook, you would just see posts from like your friends and family, right? Whereas
Yeah,
now, 1 out of 10 is maybe someone I actually know if I even bother scrolling through Facebook. I feel like most of us just use it now for the messenger service. for the, like, let's see what we got. I've got, okay. Oh, here's a family friend, Japanese ad, another podcast, something selling something, a model, um, ancient history, NordVPN, Ringo Starr, Yahoo Entertainment. I mean, none of these are my friends or anything. Oh, here's a high school person. It took like 10 scrolling down to find that. So, it's Facebook now. So it has been, as the guy was mentioning, enshittened. Not a dirty word, apparently. It's on a CNN news article.
Can I get the spelling on that?
Enshitten, I think.
And shit done.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I do like that you can stick the dirty word in the word, and now it's not dirty anymore. I could be proved wrong by the time this airs, by the way, but yeah, maybe
Well,
maybe
I think
CNN
it.
is getting an FCC complaint right now. They could print dirty words on CNN, can't they? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if it's the person's name, you can't really do nothing about it, can you?
Oh, and here's a post about here's Will Wheaton bitching about Facebook. Okay. Telling you he's giving up and going back to his blog. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Just all these services become crappier and crappier. Um, although I guess this isn't a service. This is a did you get the impression that Agnes is a NASA computer or a military computer? I guess it's a NASA computer because they're going to Venus. Yeah, okay.
I get the impression that she's Chat GPT.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's except Chat GPT will give you worse advice than Agnes, probably, right? Agnes in the end is like hook up with me, ooh, which I
But
don't know how
yeah,
that works exactly, but
so what did you say? NASA or what? Is it a NASA or what computer?
well, they were going to NASA because they're doing
They're
trajectories for Venus. So
Venus, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, it's definitely a NASA computer.
right, right. Um, how did you feel about Elwood as a representation of an IT guy,
Mm. I
especially a
I read one article
1954
online
IT
about this
guy?
episode. One guy got really angry. It's like, I'm tired of the smart person being identified, the smart scientist being identified as they don't understand women or they don't understand things. I guess they really didn't like that trope. And
No,
but so Elwood, he seems like the smart guy. He seems like the absent-minded professor. What he
about yeah,
seems
that
like.
was a year or two before this, I think. So, did that guy wear glasses? I don't remember. Fred McMurray, right? I don't think he had glasses, but I did watch that a lot when I was a kid, but I haven't seen it since. Um, I was really excited when 1997's Flubber came out, and then it was a horrible disappointment. So,
Kick me, I like Flubber. I don't know why, but I like
I
Flubber.
like those older movies. So the
I
newer
think it's
one,
Robin Williams. I hold
it
Robin
is.
Williams to my heart. So
It's one of those things. Around that time, he also did What Dreams May Come, and when I saw it in the theater, I thought it was the worst thing ever. I saw it about 5 years ago. I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I like it. So sometimes, you can revisit it and
I'm not
maybe.
gonna I'm not gonna go back and watch Bicentennial Man or anything. But,
No, he did comedy routines apologizing for that movie. Um,
yeah.
but I do remember Flubber though being one of the first times I saw a customized internet because when it came out, if you went on IMDb, the whole site had been flubberized, and now you see that all the time. You got the Google Doodles and all that sort of things. But I do remember
Yeah.
Flubber being the first time I saw a website tricked out for some kind of promo or something.
Oh, that's nice.
But now we're on Flubber. Oh yeah, I was thinking that the viewer, when this was new, was coming in, knowing Mr. Peepers, whereas people watching it now are just like, this guy's a dang dork. But when you were watching it in '64, if you were a TV fan, maybe you remembered him. It's like Will Ferrell showing up in your TV show, right? After
Yeah.
doing all something like that, or showing up in Barbie. There you go. That's
I
that's kind
mean,
of
that was the vibes I got when I first saw the episode all those years ago. I was like, who's this dork? And I
right,
didn't know
right.
like he actually voiced Underdog, did other things. I still don't know when
But it
I
seems
want to
Mr.
say
Peepers.
I want to say Mr. Beepers, but I think that's Saturday Night
Peepers.
Live.
Yeah. But it seems Mr. Peepers was quite popular in its day and it's just been like extremely forgotten.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, sorry to all the Mr. Peeper fans out there. It seems you can buy some of it on DVD. Like 75% of the show actually did survive to the present day. Although early 50s, unless it's The Honeymooners or I Love Lucy, there's probably a few missing episodes, right?
Yeah.
Twilight Zone might be one of the first ones where it's just like, yeah, it's all there, or Have Gun Will Travel. Those seem like the first ones when it's like, I don't think you can just watch every Gunsmoke or Bonanza. I'm not sure. Yeah. TV preservation is an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing you got you watch these on your Blu-ray, right? You
That's
watch the
right.
Twilight Zone. So it's a good thing you got the collector's edition, or you got the collection, because you're coming up on Occurrence and Owl Creek Bridge pretty soon, and you can't find that on streaming services.
Oh, really? Okay,
Neither can
interesting.
you the Encounter either, I don't think.
Ah,
So you
okay.
have to have the physical copies to get those episodes.
Yeah, I've never been a streamer, which I know sounds weird in 2025. I've just never really given up my physical media thing. I just like having piles of discs around because I'm weird. I don't know. But also it's just like, yeah, I get to like explore around in my room and just find stuff. My
Yeah.
my room is now the record store slash movie store. So since we don't really have so many functional ones anymore. Japan has more than America, I think, but even we don't. Our Tower Records is we still have Tower Records, but it's half giant K-pop and J-pop displays. They've uh extremely scaled down the
I heard
Western.
Tower Records made a comeback in the States, but online. Like they didn't come back and
That
open.
doesn't excite me though. Again, that's like
No.
hooking up with Agnes, right? You probably want to hook up with a real person.
Yeah. You want the touch, you want the feel, you want the new CD smell, the new
Exactly,
vinyl
yeah.
smell.
Well, actually, I will say one thing when I switched from cassettes to CDs in the early 90s when I was a kid, it's like cassettes had more distinctive smells.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that. But
No, I don't think I do, but I remember cassettes as a kid. I
and
remember
they'd
them
have
playing
like
them.
kind of different smells, right? Like, but CDs never really had a smell. So
I remember actually liking cassettes more than CDs.
I won't go that far, but there are a few uh, uh sorry, I just had like three messages pop in my face and it threw off what I was talking about. Cassette smell. Oh yeah, there's a few albums that'll always be like, oh, those sound better on cassette. I
Oh,
can
I'm not like that. I like the fact that your thing's not going to skip if you get it scratched or something like that. And like sure you can get a cassette eaten like the cassette can get eaten up and the tape gets all messed up, but
Yeah,
you're
that
not going to have
sucks.
that song skip or nothing.
Right. Okay. Here's the albums I think sound better on cassette. Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures, Jimi Hendrix's Axis Bold as Love, and Talking Heads Stop Making Sense. I don't know why. I think all three of those albums sound best on cassette.
Hmm.
And then if you're listening, like weird underground punk rock or like electronic music, cassette is sometimes kind of cool. So, but yeah, it's got its time and place. Agnes does not. This is Agnes's time and place, I guess. So, you know,
And so Agnes, we see in the very beginning of this episode, she just got done messing with another guy's head,
right,
another
right.
programmer's.
Watch out, here she
And
comes. She's
now
a
she's
man
giving
eater.
advice. Yeah, watch out for that. They said this at the beginning of the episode and the end. Watch out for that female. Watch out for that femme fatale. Yeah, they quoted that at the beginning. They quoted that at the end because the first programmer said it, and then um, I wanted to call him by his real name, Wally Cox Elwood. He said it at the end.
Yeah, he looks like a real Elwood, right? I don't know. It works, but yeah, I guess the first guy. I mean, we don't really. He doesn't. He just seems frazzled. I mean, I guess he had the same sort of thing happen to him, but I
I
in
want,
that.
you know what popped in my head? I wonder if he was going after Millie too, and Agnes gave him bad advice too about that.
Oh, and
Or
what
if he was going after a completely different girl and Agnes just ruined his
I'm
life.
gonna guess it was completely different because in the end, Millie ends up hooking up with that little hottie Walter, right? So, um,
Well, I don't know. Besides that woman in the hallway that keeps getting handed things by Elwood and Millie, there could be no other females in the office for all we know. Could be just those two, you know.
well,
We
we did
do.
learn from NASA did have some female employees. Of course, there's Hidden Figures about the crunching the numbers. Some
Yeah.
there were a few people. I mean, it was underrepresentation in the '60s, but yeah, when you put your magnifying glass, you actually will find a few ladies working there doing important work.
They said there
Now,
was a rule of three in this episode. I was looking up. I like to go on when I'm looking up a Twilight Zone episode two. I go on this TV tropes website, and it'll tell
right?
you all the different tropes throughout the episode. And So I was explaining that and I forgot what I was going to say.
Rule of three,
Oh yes, rule of three. Okay. So you have Agnes give him three different advices that all go bad.
right?
That's one thing that happens three times. And then you have I just keep wanting to call him Wally Cox. Elwood. You have Elwood come out and each time something bad happens, like he got the roses for Millie and she was allergic.
With
He
chocolates
got
and roses,
sure, yeah,
and
gave her
then
something three times, and then the sign at the end when he got fired.
right,
When he got, well, long, long vacation. But as you said in your notes, it's probably we know what a long, long vacation is.
right. Long, long leave of absence.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, this could be a script writer very much like, trying to do it by the book. It's Bernard C. Schoenfeld, who I do not remember writing a previous episode and is not one of our regular writers. So, um, yeah, once you start looking for a structure, you find it, right? That's how I always heard the rule of three. I was going to say listening to symphonies. So, in Star Trek, it's all like, oh, the works of Beethoven and Shostakovich and Zarkon Flogelglocks, from the planet Xenon. They always had the third like sci-fi one.
Yeah.
Uh, so your rule of three, of course, it's cool too. But when I hear that term, I always think of that sort of thing, giving two real references and one completely whacked out one. Which is, I mean, that's why I do teaching too. It's like, what's your favorite food for students? Pizza or sushi or monkey steak? Something like that. The third one has to be something ridiculous.
So in this episode, when he's getting advice, and he keeps taking it, there's a point where it seems like he's like, I don't want to take it, but he still takes it. Like especially where he introduces Millie to Walter,
Right.
and it's like, Walter looks good, man. The second you lose Walter to her, you don't have a shot. And when she said inferior, like, bro, you're taking that back. Like, you're taking that advice, thinking this guy's like, no, this guy's not inferior. I don't know why you would do that. You have yourself to blame on that one. Like, part of me can blame Agnes. Part of me can like, I think there's a lot of blame to be made in this. It's not just all on one person. Part of it, Millie's got a little bit of an issue. Part of it, Agnes has got her own jealousy issues. And Elwood is just a gullible
Right.
person.
Well, here's the thing. Elwood starts off before he starts taking advice from Agnes and after actually, but he's very harassy. Oh, call
Yeah.
me Jim, that sort of stuff. It just
Yeah.
it's I mean, I guess he's interacting with people, but yeah, it's a little he's more sociable than the real psycho geek, I guess, because he's in the office, he's not just like hiding out in his basement or whatever, right?
No.
So he's got that going for him. But yeah, he does come across as creepy. I could see. I was actually surprised Millie was
Like
like sure
serial
of.
killer vibes creepy. Like that kind
Yeah,
of creepy.
possibly that, but just socially inept to the point of not being fun, where he's reading advanced physics as a date. That is weird. Like that he doesn't seem like a catch in that way. You're gonna have a very dull boyfriend in that case. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what he wants to do. He's not gonna change that, right?
Yeah.
She does overreact when he spills champagne on her, although I guess she was already mildly annoyed, so it was just an excuse.
Yeah, there was a moment of hope before that though when they were dancing, and then he made some kind of comment. She's like, "Oh, whatever," or whatever she said, and she went back and sat down, and that's when he spilled something on her, and then she
Yeah,
stormed off.
because I wrote in my notes, I kind of do want to punch Elwood in the face, and then that seemed too violent, so I
I'm like,
wrote again. Actually, I want Mr. Bemis to punch him in the face because
I don't know if Bemis would though. Bemis is too nice of a guy.
yeah, we'll find some reason. He stole his glasses, that sort of thing. I was just like, I'm notorious on here for being like I can't identify with Bemis, but I like Bemis better than Elwood. Not Wally Cox. Wally Cox is fine. He's entertaining. I'm just talking about the character of Elwood being pretty, just kind of makes your skin crawl. Like makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was the point to make the skin crawl, but you were definitely supposed to feel a sense of dorkiness from him.
I
I don't
wrote
know if you were supposed to feel creepiness from him.
yeah. I wrote frickin' squares when Agnes calls was it Philly Square. That did remind me, though, another piece of Wally Cox trivia that I didn't put in is apparently from 1966 to his death in 1973, he was a Hollywood Squares regular. So,
Ooh,
um,
they just brought that show back in the States. Of course, they can't compete with the originals, but
no, I mean, can you really have? I mean, at best, you're going to have like a niche show now, right? Because when people tell you,
yeah,
like, I'm watching this show or that show, you're like, I've never heard of that. That might be the greatest show ever that you're watching, but I've never heard of it, you know? We
yeah.
don't really have the water cooler shows. I guess the closest would be stuff like, a lot of people claim to have watched the new Lord of the Rings TV show. I haven't because I've just never been a Lord of the Rings fan, but
Hey, I'm right there with you, buddy. That's one of the only movies I ever walked out of, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
I didn't walk out, but I've got my film podcast. I will be watching it before too long. So again, I'm always good for reassessment. I like it when I put on a movie or a TV show I previous assumed was crap, and I'm like, oh, actually, this is kind of cool, you know.
Yeah.
Um, Although what sucks is when you have like a TV show or movie from your childhood and you come back and then you're like, ooh, this is garbage. You know, like I was very excited when they put out the early 90s The Flash on DVD and then, got in and started watching like, oh, this actually isn't very good. But as a kid, I loved it, you know? So
Yeah.
I still had a little nostalgia watching it. I couldn't like show it to anyone. They'd be like, what is this? This is garbage. Let's see, other big notes I have. Oh yeah, I did find it that they actually threw out the term sex fiend because I was about to write something like mildly smutty and then that came out and I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess they're going to do that then." Is that
That
is that
sex fiend.
yeah, is that pushing the lines of 64 television? I don't really know, you know.
I don't know. I mean, in this we're we're slapping women on television in this era, so
Yeah, yeah, it's
what's
like
really pushing the lines? Like,
you can have people smoking in bed at this point, but yeah.
yeah,
So it's just that times change, right? So now you can say sexy and nobody bats an eye, but you shouldn't have someone smoking in bed, right? That's
yeah,
like modern things. Um, oh, at the end when Elwood goes to see Millie in water for the last time, I did, and Millie's like dancing, right? And
yeah.
maybe it's because I just watched Twin Peaks, but it definitely kind of made me think of like the Audrey Horne dance a little bit, just like the weird, dreamy dance off by yourself sort of thing.
Are you talking about when they were already drunk at that point and they kind of shut the door on them when they
Yes.
were like, "I need you now, tomorrow, tomorrow,
Right,
tomorrow,
right,
tomorrow,
right.
Jim boy."
Definitely tomorrow, get out now.
Yeah, which is code for we're gonna do it.
Right, right. So yeah, Elwood it is funny this is the Valentine's Day episode since Elwood is having an anti-Valentine's Day. Um and we'll
I'm
get to if
trying
he
to
deserves
remember
it
if the
soon, but
chaser, remember the chaser from season one? I
oh,
want to say that aired on Valentine's Day too, but I could be wrong.
you might be correct. I'm just, I can even probably check here, but yeah, I was just noting, oh, it's Valentine's Day. It has to do with
No, that's definitely
love.
something you note. I mean, I don't think this was any accident the producers chose to do it this way either.
Yeah, let's now it's gonna bug me until I check it out. Let's see what the Chasers air date was. No, not at all. May 13th,
Ooh, I
1960.
was way off.
Yeah, so so this is their just hey, I guess we're gonna match a date. Let's do it. I mean, you don't see that many Valentine's Day shows. It's not like Halloween or Christmas where, shows tend to do one or the other, sometimes both.
All right, look up one more. Uh, Not to waste time here, but did the trade-ins did that fall on Valentine's Day?
Maybe kind of a weird Valentine's Day one. I don't think so, but
I swear there's another one that fell on Valentine's Day. I just can't think of it.
April 20th. Okay. So if you think a little earlier in season three, you might find a hit, but yeah.
All right,
Uh,
yeah, I'm wrong.
I guess I'll go ahead and do a few of the regular questions, unless you got a big point you want to throw out on this one.
No, I'm looking at my notes and yeah, I didn't really. This is not like a real noteworthy episode, so it's not like I took a lot of notes here.
Oh,
Um, Go ahead.
here's one thing I guess that was kind of interesting. That they well, it's Agnes, right? So they have gender assigned the computer, which we do with boats. She's a fine girl, that sailboat, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but we don't do with computers. So I thought it was interesting in 64. I wondered if they were like, oh, we're going to be doing that before long, and personifying our computers in that way.
Mhm.
So I feel like we don't tend to personify our tech though. My machine is, I'll say something like that, my mobile, I'm not going to give it personification. So, um, I guess the thing about this episode I do truly find fascinating is just like how it's like one of the earlier things of viewing a functional computer, not just a 50s sci-fi computer, but trying to conceive a computer on television functioning how a computer actually does. I mean, it doesn't. The interface is ridiculous, right? But you can talk to this computer. I mean, I guess you can do that now, but we don't want to, you know?
And I guess just two last points to make out. This is 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb. I think you brought this up. Usually when people go episodic, you said they rate a little different, right? As it tend to be an overall.
TV tends to be rated a little higher because I think if you're rating it, you've probably been watching a lot of episodes suggesting you like it at least somewhat.
Yeah,
Like people don't just come in and dive bomb a random episode of The Twilight Zone. So yeah, that 6.3 suggests that people don't like it so much.
no. And then I was thinking about this. So no problems with the episode, but where I would have a problem with this episode is, can you imagine if this was a season 4 50-minute one? Like,
Ew,
how
yeah.
could you stretch that out?
Well, that's
I don't
why
think
it
you
wasn't
could.
in that season. Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, the writer seems to have enough structure in mind that he's probably, targeting the 25-minute thing and it would not work otherwise. But like we said during that season, there were a few that truly did come out well as 45 minutes, but a lot of them didn't, especially the earlier ones.
yeah.
I will say this one, yeah, like you said, it's one did not annoy me as much as say Mr. Dingle the Strong or the Bard's bleep bloop music was a lot worse than this one, or I call it Captain Wacky music. But yeah, it was a lot worse than the Bard. Like there were a couple stings here that were highly annoying, but a lot of it is just like listening to the bleeps and bloops of the computer, right? So that I can live with that, even if it did seem weirdly musical.
When you get to sounds and silences, I don't know if I think I'm marked down for that one. I'm not sure.
I
But
think you are.
when you get to that episode, they actually use a Popeye theme
Oh,
in the
okay.
episode.
A few some sea shanties are always fun, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to joke to someone, oh, I think I should start making, focus exclusively on sea shanties. I was like, oh wait, Tom Waits already did that, so beat me
Oh,
to the punch.
before we get to the questions, I was gonna tell you, Mark, he uses that term parlor sniping. I think you guys came up with. He likes those kind of episodes.
Oh,
He's
parlor
got to be
sniping, yes, yes,
he's got to
yes.
be included for what's in the box.
Oh,
He's got to
okay.
be on that episode. That's a parlor snipe.
Okay. Mark has been called out for that, so there we go. What's in the box? Question number one, of course, who in this episode goes into the Twilight Zone or through the Twilight Zone?
Hmm. Is Agnes in the Twilight Zone? Because she can do all those things and she's just a programming computer.
I
Or
guess
do I go with the easy answer and say Wally?
well, L would be the
Well, I
easier
keep
answer.
wanting to say Wally. Why am I doing that all
I just
episode?
felt like calling you out on it.
Wally Cox. That's
Wally
a fun name to
Elwood.
say, damn it.
It is
Wally
a fun name.
Cox.
Yeah, like how we like. That's why Brian Cox is so famous. I mean, he's a good actor, but also it's just it rolls off the tongue, right?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think I'm joking with the Agnes one. I think I might be reaching. So yeah, I'll say Elwood.
well, I would say Agnes is of the Twilight Zone, or like how that Google guy was like, "We're bringing the old ones out through AI." Maybe that's Agnes, coming through the digital line, the electronic line into the Twilight Zone. But yeah, of course, I would agree. Elwood and also the frazzled guy at the beginning had the same, similar trip, right?
Oh
So,
yes.
so
Yes.
that guy also, was broken by the Twilight Zone. So these are guys, I guess, comically broken by the Twilight Zone.
Can these guys be repaired or are they just done? Or they
The
like put
first
them in a
guy,
rubber room, they're done.
the first guy we don't know. I would say Elwood was already kind of broken to begin with. So, although he's not functioning as a brilliant programmer anymore, I guess. So that's, I mean, he does have skill as that. Even like he doesn't get distracted by Agnes or tries not to, but Agnes won't have anything of it. He's trying to do work. And then we get to the point where it's like, hey, this Venus mission is pushed up. You need to finish it, and Agnes cannot focus. She's not a very useful computer. I mean, she's not doing what she's supposed to do, and then she's screwing up your life as well. So.
No, and you put a good thing in your lines, in your notes. We've had two people that can attest to this computer's batshit crazy. So
Yeah.
why
So,
don't we shut this Agnes down right now?
right, right, right. Exactly. I mean, they turned off Hal by this point, right?
Yeah.
And he just failed to predict a communications failure, right? So this is a lot bigger of a deal. Hal was still doing most of the other stuff. Well, until he wasn't. I mean, he did shut off everyone's life support, but that's when he was going psycho. So do it now before Agnes goes. I mean, she's already going somewhat psycho. She's just going wacky, fun psycho at this point,
Yeah.
or she
Well,
causes some real trouble.
she throws temper tantrums without actually having a body.
Right.
Like when she's making, he's like, all right, I'll tell you about Millie.
Right. Because Agnes, where are the emotions coming from? They didn't program it in. I mean,
I
even
was always
now,
taught that robots don't have emotions.
right, right. Agnes should be logical, cold and logical, but is not. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely have to assume Agnes. Well, I'm saying definitely, but I am assuming that Agnes is definitely of the Twilight Zone in some way. Like, there's a ghost in the machine here that nobody programmed.
She is the brother to the old man in the cave computer.
Right,
And
but
it had
that
to
that
carry on because her brother got killed.
well, that was a not a very chatty brother anyway. So,
He was a mute, okay? He was
yeah.
born a mute.
Uh, does Elwood deserve his trip into the Twilight Zone? I mean, I can't tell you about the first guy because I don't know anything about the first guy, but how about Elwood? Does he deserve this?
You know what? Elwood's a wimp. Elwood's a dork. Elwood's all those things. He did not deserve to go that deep into the Twilight Zone, though. By the time it was all said and done, I don't think he's repairable. I don't think he's coming back. I think he is, without some therapy, I think he might just write him off. He's not going to be the same Elwood he was.
Right. Here's the way I see it. Like, kind of mirrors what you're saying, but inside that computer room, he doesn't deserve it because he actually is trying to do legit work,
Yeah.
efficiently. So that Elwood doesn't deserve it, but the Elwood outside of that room is so freaking annoying. It's kind of hard to say he doesn't deserve it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking of like the meekest person in the Twilight Zone. Like, I want him to punch Elwood in the face. I mean, that's why I chose Mr. Bemis, right? I was like, I
Yeah,
need
at
to choose the
first I
meekest
thought you meant
person.
Beavis. That's why I
Oh
was
no,
like,
no,
oh,
no,
he's
no.
kind of a nice guy. But
No, Mr. Bemis from Time Enough at Last, right? So,
all you would have to do is rip up one of his books. Then might
yeah,
might get
yeah,
punched. Yeah.
right, and yeah. So also because I usually cite him, love Burgess Meredith, but that character also gets on my nerves, but not as much as Elwood was getting on my nerves. So that's why I want Mr. Bemis to punch him in the face.
No, I don't think any character got on my nerves more than Horse Ford. That
uh,
takes the cake right there.
okay, um,
And I
let's put
love Pat Hingle, but yeah, let's put the tripometer up.
right. We're talking characters, not actors. Yes, I was
Yeah.
about to say, 'cause, I can't be too mad at Commissioner Gordon, but I can be that mad at Horace Ford. So, or annoyed. Let's not say mad. Mad's not really the right word. Let's put this one on the tripometer. Of course, 0 is not trippy at all, and 5 is extremely trippy. What is your score for this one?
So I got two scores. Is that
Sure.
cheating?
No, you can give me two scores.
Okay, so it's a back then and a current score. So
Okay.
back then, if I was in 1964, this would be like a 3 or a 3.5 because I'm watching this computer do things that I don't normally see on a TV show. And I'm like, how is this computer giving advice, giving bad advice, able to love, able to be jealous? That's a lot to process in the 60s. Now, if today, it's a one. It's about a one.
Okay, I'm coming in right between those. I'm calling it a 2 just because of the giant full room computer design, which is pretty fun. So, that I thought the design of that's trippy enough to give it a 2. Otherwise, it is a pretty derpy comedy episode and there's nothing particularly trippy about it. So, I was like, should I agree with your 1 actually? But I like the design enough.
Now,
Let's give it a 2.
if you were using my logic and you went back into the 60s, would that make your two a three? If you went back to the 60s?
I don't think so. I think you'd still come out being like, I just watched a weird episode of Mr. Peepers? Um, again, I do think it's very interesting that this is right at a point where there's still a lot of fantastical ideas about computers, but you do have to start considering them practically as well because you are starting to get them in offices. So you can't be completely fantastical, but so this is like right on a weird line of like 50s sci-fi computer and 60s data center computer.
Yeah, I wonder what the theme is this season with the big computers. It's like I named earlier. You got Old Man in the Cave, you got this episode, and then you got
I think it's just trending
Whipple.
in, the world. Like right now, cutting edge is, the world of computing is starting to become like the big new thing, right? I mean, we don't get personal computers for another 15 years or more.
Yeah,
So, and we don't get ones that actually do stuff that's useful for another 30 plus years. So, it's right at the dawn of computing. Because before this, they're completely inaccessible. I mean, if you were going to use a computer in the 50s, you're at a military or university campus or something, right? So,
yeah,
otherwise, you're not using them. In the
no,
70s, maybe the community college starts to have them, and then in the 80s, we start to get them in our houses. I guess you're talking about big computers, and my dad was a programmer in the 80s, and I do remember at the office, the computer room was two very large machines with like spooled tape or whatever, and it was always kept like crazy cold in there. It was like 50 degrees or something, so still a very large computer for a bunch of oil analysis data.
Hmm.
Um, if you don't have any final thoughts, I guess we'll wind down for today, although that was
no,
an invitation to have a final thought.
not a lot to cover. I think we covered bases here.
All right, so happy Valentine's Day. Hope yours goes better than Elwood's here or that other
Wa-
guy. Um,
Watch out for that femme fatale.
yeah. If you are digging this Time Enough podcast, look it up on the podcatchers. Give us a nice rating or review. We do a lot of podcasting around here. You can find that at podcastiopodcastius.org or at the Patreon of the same name, Films and Filth. We do what are supposed to be really good and really bad films. No 6.3s on the IMDb. It's got to be way higher or way lower than that to make that podcast or be a birthday movie or something. Um, We're talking about Planet of the Apes over at Podcast 1999, and we are just about to start doing the TV series, which I've never seen before. I've seen the film series several times, but have not gotten into the TV series. Ever see that one? Animated or live action?
No, and I need to catch up with the movies because I'm one of those guys that will listen to you guys talk about movies that I haven't even seen yet, but I'll still listen to it.
I've done a few of those. So sometimes it's like a movie so bad, it's like I want to hear people talk about, but I don't want to actually watch the movie.
I just need to find the correct because I'm not in the means to buy it right now physically. So I need to see what streaming service has it. Maybe YouTube would. I don't know.
Disney Plus might have it now because they bought Fox.
I think Disney just has the modern ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Anyway,
just have the
I'm
modern.
not the right person to ask about streaming services as previously mentioned. So,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, yeah, don't listen to the computer. Don't trust the AI. Don't take its advice.
never.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit that stop. Goodbye to all the Patreonies. Is that the right word?